The emergency klaxon screamed through the Galactic Preservation Society's breeding wing at 0300 hours. Marcus Webb dropped his mop and ran, his boots squeaking on the freshly cleaned floors. After the pickle incident 3 months ago, he'd been promoted to Special Xenobiological Custodial Consultant, a fancy title that still meant he cleaned floors, but now he did it near the dragon nursery. He burst through the nursery doors to find chaos. Director Veltrax's antennae were nearly vibrating off his head. Dr. Shalix's crystalline form pulsed with distressed colors. And in the incubation chamber, 5 newly hatched dragon hatchlings were dying. The thermal regulators failed, Veltrax said, his translator crackling with stress. Backup systems are offline. The hatchlings' core temperatures are dropping too fast. Marcus pressed against the observation window. The tiny dragons, each no bigger than his daughter's stuffed animals, lay in a pile, their scales dulled, their movements sluggish. They weren't chirping anymore. That was bad. How long until the systems are back online? Marcus asked. 47 minutes, Dr. Shalix said. They have perhaps 15. And the portable heaters? Not precise enough. Dragon hatchlings need exact temperature ranges with specific humidity levels, and Veltrax stopped, his compound eyes fixing on Marcus. Why are you removing your shirt? Marcus was already halfway through the decontamination airlock, yanking his uniform over his head. My daughter was premature. Spent 2 months in NICU. You know what they did when the machines couldn't regulate her temperature right. He didn't wait for an answer. The inner door hissed open, and he stepped into the nursery chamber wearing only his undershirt. The cold hit him immediately. The room was barely 60 degrees and dropping. Human, this is highly irregular. Veltrax began, but Marcus was already at the incubation nest. He scooped up the hatchlings carefully, feeling their cold scales against his palms. They were so small, so fragile. One opened an eye, a swirl of colors like a galaxy, and made a sound like a sigh. "It's okay, little ones," Marcus murmured. He pulled them against his chest, tucking them under his shirt, directly over his heart. "I've got you." The dragons stirred weakly, instinctively burrowing toward the warmth. Marcus sat down on the floor and wrapped his arms around his chest, creating a pocket of heat. His body temperature, the human standard of 98.6 degrees, was apparently close enough to what they needed. Skin-to-skin contact, Dr. Shalix said softly, understanding dawning. Kangaroo care. I've read about this in human medical texts. My little girl, Emma, she was so tiny, Marcus said, his voice distant with memory. 3 pounds, 2 ounces. The nurses showed me how to hold her. Said sometimes the human touch works better than any machine. He looked down at the bulge in his shirt, where 5 dragon snouts were beginning to poke out. Guess dragons aren't so different. The hatchling scales began to brighten, cycling through colors: crimson, gold, emerald, sapphire, and violet. Their body heat was returning. One of them chirped, then another. Soon all 5 were making soft, contented sounds against Marcus's chest. Veltrax's antennae had stopped vibrating. The bioscanners show their core temperatures stabilizing, heart rates normalizing. He paused. How did you know this would work? I didn't, Marcus admitted. But when Emma was in the hospital, they told me that human hearts beat at a rhythm that calms babies. Something about the pattern, the sound, the warmth, makes them feel safe. He smiled as a tiny dragon head nuzzled under his chin. Figured it was worth a shot. Dr. Shalix moved closer, her instruments humming. Fascinating. The acoustic pattern of a human heartbeat appears to trigger a calming response in their neural structures. In your body, electromagnetic field. Doc, I'm just a janitor who's good at holding babies. Marcus interrupted gently. The violet hatchling had fallen asleep, tiny puffs of steam escaping its nostrils with each breath. The others followed suit, one by one, until all 5 were sleeping peacefully against him. Veltrax settled beside Marcus on the floor, an unprecedented informality for the director. You're not just a janitor, Marcus Webb. You're a father. And apparently, that translates across species. Marcus sat there for the full 47 minutes, long after the thermal regulators came back online. The dragons didn't need him anymore, technically. But he learned with Emma that sometimes babies, human or dragon, needed more than just the right temperature. Sometimes they needed a heartbeat that said, "You're not alone. I'm here. You're safe." When he finally stood to transfer the hatchlings back to their nest, each one chirped in protest. The crimson one, the smallest, wrapped its tail around his finger and refused to let go. "I'll visit tomorrow," Marcus promised, gently unwinding the tail. "I'll bring Emma. She'll love you guys." As he left the nursery, pulling his shirt back on, he heard Veltrax speaking to Dr. Shalix. "Make a note in the xenobiological protocols. Sometimes the best technology is a human who knows how to care." Marcus smiled. He thought Emma would be proud of that. His girl had taught him how to be a father to the fragile and small. Turns out, the galaxy needed that lesson too.